They're about to propose controversial legislation that would have profound implications for forest products, inflame debate over renewable energy and acceptable carbon emissions. At issue is whether it should be deemed clean and green in the eyes of government to generate electricity by burning timber or waste timber from both native forests and plantation timber. The renewable energy targets set by government and tradable renewable energy certificates are driving a surge of investment interest in wood-based biomass energy in Australia and overseas, looking for big new commercial opportunities in the logging and wood chipping of native forests. Business editor Greg Hoy reports.
Song for koalas. In the spotted gum forests of New South Wales' far south coast, a new anti-logging front has formed since the local timber mill, one of Australia's largest, began singing the praise of a new craze they call carbon recycling, burning wood to produce so-called biomass energy to supply electricity to the district of Eden.
To take the waste that we currently produce as part of our process of producing wood chips and turn that into power.
Suggestion is this will utilise wood waste that would otherwise be burnt anyway, a common practice in native forest logging.
That same argument was also presented by the industry with respect to chip exporting through 70s and 80s, and that chip exporting was just a sensible utilisation of the waste. And we look at where the industry is today. Australia-wide, 80% of our native forest log cut is wood chipped primarily for export.
Conservationists are good at conspiracy theories.
Controlled by Japan's Nippon Paper Group, Southeast Fibre Exports last year shipped 900,000 tonnes of mostly native forest wood chips from Eden to Japan and Taiwan for pulp and paper production. Today, the mill remains quietly confident of winning state government approval for a wood-fired power plant, despite fierce resistance led locally by a familiar face of Australian fashion.
The saddest thing about that area is it's been overlogged for so long and the wildlife is disappearing. Our koalas, we've just found we've got 30 to 50 in Mumbulla State Forest. That's all they could find in 17,000 trees.
By using biomass, we're basically returning to the atmosphere the CO2 that was originally absorbed to make that wood. So the Kyoto Protocol recognises it as carbon neutral.
In fact, the carbon emissions from native forest wood-fired power would be several times worse than the dirtiest brown coal-fired power.
This is no local skirmish. The timber industries claim that the Kyoto Protocol, albeit controversially, has deemed the burning of forest timber carbon neutral is irrefutable, and so is echoing across Australia's power industry and the corridors of power, indeed across the globe, in the rush to renewable energy, which is only further fuelling local interest. For example, in the proud old Victorian timber town of Orbost on the banks of the Snowy River.
The best solar generator we have is the conversion of sunlight into some fibre product like trees, and by burning those trees, creating a process to release the stored energy, you can actually get virtually a closed cycle, zero balance in the carbon cycle simply by consuming fibre that comes from plantation or indeed is a waste product from native forest.
This is the thin edge of the wedge. There are proposals like this right around the country, so this is really a test case. This is a case for the federal government now to step in and say enough is enough. The native forests of Australia have to be protected as carbon stores and for their biodiversity.
What is happening to the forestry industry today is a serious problem of oversupply in hardwood chips, because we have both a native forest resource and a very rapidly maturing hardwood plantation resource. The native forest part of the industry, who's being displaced in this competition for the hardwood chip market, the native forest part of the industry is scrambling for new product opportunities for the native forest resource.
Meantime, the commercial interest is rapidly rising. In central Victoria, Australian Paper's Maryville pulp and paper mill, the nation's largest, also controlled by Nippon Paper, has expressed its interest in selling biomass electricity using waste wood and wood residues from its wood chip. Indeed, the recent findings of the federal government-convened Pulp and Paper Industry Strategy Group identified the production of biomass energy as a new growth opportunity, suggesting native forests were vital to achieve this growth.
Companies in Europe that are hungry for biomass are now competing with the pulp and paper manufacturers for resource. It's the biggest source of renewable energy in Europe currently, and most of that, might I add, that's mostly comes from native forests.
What's really driving this interest is state and federal government renewable energy targets and government authorisation of saleable renewable energy certificates. Near Lithgow in New South Wales, one of the country's biggest coal-fired power plants, the 1,000 megawatt Wallerawang, which powers around 1 million homes, is investing $250 million to substitute 20% or more of the coal it burns with wood pellets made from dried, compacted wood chips to be sourced from its own plantations.
For each megawatt hour that we generate of renewable energy, we can receive a renewable energy certificate, and those can be sold on the market. And that, the price of the renewable energy certificates is around about the same as the price of electricity, so it doubles the revenue side of the equation. And then, of course, there has been some discussion about an ETS coming in at some time in the future. We would actually need both the emissions trading scheme and the renewable energy target scheme to be in place to get this project up.
The renewable energy certificates could constitute up to 50% of the income stream.
Though many environmentalists question the accepted wisdom of burning any trees in the current climate and so releasing their stored carbon into the atmosphere, they are particularly incensed that tradable renewable energy certificates can be issued for native forest timber if it's a byproduct of a higher value use.
That is a massive loophole for the wood chip industry, and they will be looking right into that loophole now. I have moved twice in the Senate to remove that loophole and will be doing so in the period before the Parliament rises for the winter session, because it is critical that that is removed. We need both the government and the coalition to now say they will not accept the burning of native forests for renewable energy.
That point is contentious enough, but a bigger question looms larger over this industry, which might really ruffle feathers. Do Australia's wood chip exporters from native forests see a commercial opportunity here to turn wood chips into wood pellets to fuel the furnaces of foreign power plants?
Yeah, there could be. And that's the irony of it, is that as far as I can see, there's no barriers to us exporting wood for someone else to burn in their power plant overseas. There's going to be a trade in what used to be a product going to pulp and paper that now may go to power generation.
That report from business editor Greg Hoy. This week, two separate events will throw a spotlight on Australia's corruption fighting bodies. Tomorrow, Queensland's crime